We're talking Nerines and Amarines today on Pots and Trowels, and that's brought to you with the support of Cobra Garden and King Seeds. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, and here we are, the last day of the Malvern Autumn Show, the last big show of the season, and what a fantastic show it is. And what we're going to do today is catch up with Steve Hickman from Hoyland Plants Centre. We've spoken to him before, but today we're going to have a look at the amazing South African Amarines and Nerines, just to see what a blaze of colour they give us at this time of the year. Morning, Steve. All right.
Good morning, Martin.
Good to see you. Lovely display.
Thank you.
Now, when we saw you last time, it was back in early August. We were talking about the agapanthus, but here we are now, end of September. It's a different bulb that's coming into flower. These are amazing, aren't they? This is their natural time, isn't it?
It's just coming into the natural time, yeah. The early ones are just starting to flower. The male will flower probably in about 2 weeks' time. But this is an example now of both the Amarine, which is a darker one just there, the Paris,
yeah,
and the Nerine Bowdenii, of which we've got the light-coloured one, the Vesta, and the traditional one, the Bowdenii.
Right, okay, so the Bowdenii is the species, as it were.
That's the bog standard one people have in the gardens,
so,
yeah.
So Nerines, you know, because we're autumn, it's getting cold, and these are a South African bulb, aren't they? Because that's what you specialise in, South African
Yeah, the agapanthus,
plants.
the Nerine, all South African.
Absolutely. And is that their natural flowering time?
Autumn is always the flowering time to us where they are. The UK, we're just coming into the peak now. South Africa, totally opposite, but depending if you're in the east or west in South Africa.
Right.
But it's always the autumn.
Okay. And what sort of conditions would they grow in the wild in South Africa?
In the wild, it's very sunny, it's very well drained. Roots, it's Amaryllidaceae like agapanthus, which do like to be restricted. The bulb is normally exposed to the sunlight there, so if you're planting the bulbs here, either in a border where they're hardy to -10 or in patio pots which you have to protect in winter,
right,
you do need the top showing for the sunshine.
Right, so that's important because obviously it's bulb planting time for your daffodils and tulips, and we always say 3 times the depth, but with
but
these,
not these,
that's got to be above ground level.
Yeah, if you plant them 3 times the depth, you'll never see them again.
No, okay.
And if you plant them too deep, even like that, they will survive, but they'll not flower.
Okay.
They need the sunshine.
So,
and obviously being South African, growing in the sort of mountain sides and the savannas or the fynbos, they need it well drained.
Right, okay. So if you've got, ideally you don't want anywhere that's wet clay soil, you need something that you can improve, lots of grit in it.
Yeah.
I've seen them sometimes, you see them planted against like a south-facing wall.
That's right.
And when they naturalise, they completely bulk up, don't they? You know, that will develop into a big clump of bulbs.
It would. We've got, if we just move around here a little bit, that shows you the compost which we just mentioned.
Oh, right. So is this what you'd do if you were doing them in a pot?
This is what you do in the pot, yeah. It's, well, you can see it's the equal amount John Ennis, the horticultural coarse grit, and the multi-purpose compost.
And that's what it looks like.
And that's what you get there. Yeah. It's really, really well drained.
Yeah.
You can see what it consists of there. But propagation-wise, that's an Amarine, which is, we'll come on to that a bit later. That's your Nerine, and you can see the small bulbils appearing on the basal plate of the bulb.
Right.
Now that's flowering size, probably already flowered. You leave the little bulbs on the mother bulb and they'll start to flower not next year but the year after. If you detach the mother, the baby bulbs, the bulblets, on their own roots, it'll take them about 4 years to get large enough to flower.
So they need to be attached to the mum to do really well.
Yeah.
So once you've planted them, you basically just forget about them.
Just forget about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Full sun, well drained, and just leave them to it.
And although they come from South Africa, they obviously cope with some frost. So that's, do they get the frost where they grow naturally, or?
They do get frost in South Africa. It's amazing the temperature differences, and occasionally they get snow as well.
Okay.
But it's a different kind of sort of snow and temperatures over there to what we get.
Okay.
They tend to get it quick and sharp, where in the UK it could be weeks and weeks of the cold and the wet. So they must go in the well-drained compost to get that drainage.
And that sunny position is ideal.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, you know, we're at the minute in the UK, we're planting our daffodils and our crocuses and our tulips. When do we plant these? It's not this time of the year, is it?
Now, the best time to plant these, although you can plant them all the way through, but the best time is from March, when the frost has probably gone, through to about end of May. The earlier in the year you plant them, the more chance you've got to get them into flower. Although there are a lot of grades of nerines and amarines around, we generally have the top grade, which will flower the same year. So the earlier you can get them in, the longer they've got to establish.
Right.
Some people do plant them at this time of year, which means they'll get the roots in, so they get off to a quick start in spring. But traditionally, the earlier the better.
So I'm going to create a new border at home on the front. It's southwest facing, sheltered, gets warm. But where the lawn is at the minute, it burns off.
Yeah.
So I know it gets warm in the summer,
Yeah.
and I can improve the soil. I think it's got a lot of rubble underneath it, to be fair. So I'd better wait in doing the ground preparation this autumn and planting next.
Yeah, do ground preparation now.
I'm just thinking about putting my order in now, that's all.
Well, yeah. You might get a bit of discount as well for quantity, you never know. But to my Yorkshireman, don't forget.
You said a bit.
Don't smell too much. Yeah. I'd wait while springtime, but do make sure wherever you get them from to get first grade bulbs.
Okay.
You can get bulbs on special offers, 24 for a fiver type of thing, but they're going to take years to develop into flowering size plants.
No, I think anything like that, you should always go to a specialist like you.
Especially get to my age, because I want to see them flower the same year.
Yes. So that's the Nerine Bodenii. Then you've mentioned another one called Amarine, which we've got some here, which are beautiful, aren't they? I mean, these are
That's one of my favourites.
Yeah, Anastasia, isn't that amazing? So what is an Amarine?
An Amarine is a cross between Nerine Bodenii, which we've already just mentioned, where it gets its hardiness from, and Amaryllis belladonna, where it gets its vigour from. And if you just notice on the size of these, that's the size of your Nerine, that's an Amarine. And if you can imagine a much larger bulb, which is the Amaryllis belladonna, that's the hybrid. So the vigour comes from the Amaryllis, and the hardiness comes from the Bodenii.
And growing technique pretty much the same?
Growing technique's exactly like the Nerine.
You've got one in a pot here, haven't you? That's a Nerine, isn't it?
That's an Amarine,
showing
that
the
one.
position you would plant
That's
them.
the Amarine, the bigger one. And that's traditionally, that's the
that's
Nerine. So you can see the different size of the bulb.
Yeah.
If you're going to grow them in containers, a mistake we did years ago when we first started, we used too small a pot.
Right.
If you're going to grow 3 of those together, you want a 12-inch pot.
Okay.
Whereas the normal Nerine, well, that's a small 1 litre pot.
And this is obviously, because this is your display here at Malvern, and it's an educational display, a linear display to explain all about the growing of agapanthus and these beautiful bulbs, isn't it?
Well, if you look around the exhibit, same with the agapanthus part here, it's designed so somebody who doesn't know a thing about nerines or agapanthus, it might be the first time they've ever seen them, can start reading. It tells you the cultivation, the soils, the compost, the propagation, and by the time people have looked round, they're confident enough to come to the sales table and spend a bit of brass.
Okay, yeah, that's what it's all about. And finally, foliage. What do you do when they flower? Do you just allow the leaves and the foliage to die down naturally?
With the nerines and the amarine is semi-evergreen, so it'll keep leaves all the way through the year, although in winter time it does go a little bit tatty, but it does keep the leaves.
Okay.
Your nerines, all the Bodenii nerines, the hardy ones, they grow pretty much like an agapanthus, and you can mistake the leaves for agapanthus in spring. They develop through spring, summer, early autumn, all the leaves go yellow and die completely off.
Yeah.
And then you get the flowers shooting up.
Okay.
Hence the common name naked ladies. because the flower without any leaves
That's
on.
right, yes. So, but you just allow the foliage to do its own thing.
Yeah, yeah. We're normally inundated with phone calls and emails early autumn saying me nerines I bought off you in spring are dying, and then we say, well, they're not dying, they're just dying back naturally. Then you'll get your flowers.
Yes.
And you can hear the customers, oh yeah, really, yeah, yeah. But then a few weeks later, we get the same people ringing back, you were right, yeah. So that happens virtually every year.
Yeah.
With agapanthus, it's slightly different in that you've got your evergreen agapanthus, which are not quite as hardy, and we recommend patio pots for those and protect in winter. And then you get your herbaceous agapanthus, which, as you can see, that's a herbaceous one. It's just starting to die back with the yellowing of the leaves. Within about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the leaves will have totally gone yellow, and then you cut them off around about sort of mid-November-ish.
Okay.
We do recommend, although the herbaceous ones are hardy to -10, -15 in your border, the emulsion with bark.
Yeah.
It seems contradictory that, but the reason you do it is that the agapanthus are making the flower buds in the base now for flowering next year. And the most common question that people ask, plenty of leaf but no flower, and that's 2 reasons causing that. The frost is killing the flower buds because that's formed just under the surface. That's why we recommend the mulch. And secondly, the feeding, because the agapanthus, like we know, like a high potash feed. So you must feed them once every fortnight, spring to autumn, and mulch them so you don't get that problem.
Brilliant. Yeah, good. Right. Another little masterclass from
Well,
Steve,
there we are.
our specialist in South African flowering bulbs. Great. Well, I'll get my order in. I'll make my list.
No problem.
And I'll get it in the post to you, and I'll see you in the spring.
Well, don't waste your time with stamps. You can give them me straight away now.
Will do. Right. I'll have a think then. Thanks, Steve.
No problem.
Cheers. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels. Remember, all the videos we've done you can find on YouTube, and our podcast is available, including the one where we had a chat with Steve back in the summer.
And don't worry about cutting them roots, because they'll stand it and they'll be all the better for it.
I'm off now to have a look round the floor market, do a little bit of shopping. See you soon.